Hi, I'm Jodi-Anne, and in this video we're going to look at the impacts of abuse on children and their lives as adults. There are many impacts of abuse on children, and if a child does not receive assistance to break free from these impacts, they often carry over into adulthood. Much of the information that I'll present here is summarised from a book by Bradley and Marshall that looked at the ways to recover from childhood sexual abuse, and it's applicable to other forms of childhood abuse as well. I'll also, towards the end, focus on the positive. So we'll focus on the gifts that come once we heal and that we have access to that other people that don't go through this healing journey don't develop. So there is some goodness that comes from, the hard work that we have to do to heal from the impacts of child abuse and find peace. So one of the first impacts of abuse on children is a loss of childhood. They lose their sense of innocence and their sense that the world is a safe place. And a sense of mistrust that persists develops with the abused child often expecting that other people are going to abuse them too. They therefore don't let people close and often go inside themselves, close down and withdraw. They begin to parent themselves and protect themselves as best they can because they haven't found that their parents or their guardians, their loved ones around them, have been able to be there for them consistently. They might even try to be the parent to their parents to gain a sense of safety. And they cannot relax and enjoy their childhood. They may even act inappropriately sexually or become withdrawn, confused and silent. They'll try many different strategies to make sense of what's going on around them and to try and find a way that works and to get some positive attention. Some kids might become less intelligent than they were, or they might become bookish and focus on learning as a way to grow and escape by being able to have a successful career, or they might find that escaping into the fantasy of novels is a way to escape the pain of the family home and to feel some sense of safety and security by being alone in their own world. Sadly, there can be repetition of abuse. So abused children have acutely low self-esteem. They often feel that there's got to be something wrong with them because of what happened. And this low self-confidence makes meeting people and relationships difficult. It leads to difficulty in creating appropriate boundaries and recognizing their own needs. So abused children often grow up and accept more abuse as adults because they don't know any different and they may feel that it's their fault somehow. They can't easily identify the kind of person or behaviour that is harmful to them. They only know that something doesn't feel good. They become more likely to be bullied in school and abused in adult relationships. Now, this data is quite old, so it might be even more, unfortunately, now. But a sexually abused child is 4 times more likely to be sexually abused again than a non-abused child. And Castine points out that 50% of the time, daughters of alcoholic fathers will marry an alcoholic, while Jorgensen and Jorgensen reported that 1 out of every 4 children of alcoholics will develop alcoholic tendencies themselves. It continues on until it is healed. Another impact from experiencing child abuse is blaming ourselves. Children can't bear to believe that those who are supposed to love them and care for them can be wrong. So they take responsibility for the abuse themselves. Blaming themselves gives a sense of control. It's easier to live with the guilt of themselves having caused it than to accept that their caretakers could be so terrible. So abused children end up believing that they are bad. Some may try to hide their feelings of weakness by acting strong, while others will become cowardly and subservient. They live their lives afraid of being confronted at any time with their badness. And this sense of badness might not be conscious, they might not be aware of it, it could be suppressed. However, it does affect all parts of a person's life. And this is what gets changed through therapy. so that you know you are a good person and you do deserve good things. Another impact from the experience of child abuse is emotional rigidity. So the abused child carries their hurt and their damaged inner child with them as they grow. And this emotional damage affects their development. They can tend to become quite rigid, stuck in particular feelings, thinking, or a particular way of looking at the world. They often can't feel all the different emotions or express them, and may be stuck in feelings such as always being happy, or always being loving, or always being angry, or always being in fear, or always being in complaining. So they get stuck in one of those emotions. So being stuck is a defense mechanism protecting them from feeling the other emotions that they see as threatening, or that may result in re-experiencing an aspect of some earlier abuse. So they avoid those other feelings in an attempt to protect themselves. An adult who was abused as a child is often unable to be spontaneous. They don't see their rigidity necessarily, but they may be aware that they have a vague dissatisfaction with their life. They might tend to see both people and situations as either positive or negative, good or bad. There's no middle ground. It can be quite harsh, black and white thinking. And they may blame others unnecessarily or direct their bad feelings and suppressed anger at them. So projection of what's inside and what needs to be healed might get projected out to others. Not deliberate, just not aware of what they're necessarily doing. And when your mind is fixated and focused like that, you truly do believe that you're quite right with your thinking. You might not realise that it's your pain that's driving you. Another impact of abuse on children is isolation. And this one often does continue on in adulthood. So isolation starts from a young age, as abusive families often try to hide their dysfunction from others. So the siblings don't talk about it, and they might compete for the attention of the parents. The siblings may even abuse each other as they try to cope with what has happened to them. And it's very common, especially in alcoholic homes or addictive homes, that you don't bring friends home from school, or you don't venture out into the world for fear of someone discovering this family secret. And if an abused person feels they can't deal with the emotions that they've buried inside, such as sadness, anger, or shame, they'll often continue to isolate themselves as adults. They'll feel separate to others, and they don't have a sense of a way out of their position, and they might overreact to any situation which touches on a felt memory, or when people seem like their abuser, or where the feeling is the same as when the abuse happened to them. So you can have these overreactions to events in life that other people don't understand because they're just seeing what's occurring, right now, but you're reacting full of all of the emotion of the past, the terror, the fear, the hurt, the shame, the anger, the resentments, etc. of the past, which makes the current event seem a much bigger deal than it really is. Some people may act as if they're in danger and push people away, even though there's actually no real danger in the present moment. Control is another impact on children that have been abused and their lives as adults, trying to control everything so that you feel a sense of safety. So often abused children as adults will feel a need for a strong sense of control. And this is so that awkward, painful, and difficult to handle emotions and feelings can be kept at bay. Giving up control, being vulnerable, means facing that pain which they may feel is overwhelming and therefore has to be denied. So they push it down, push that vulnerability away. This need for control can show up in rigid demands that partners, children, and others also hide their feelings and control their emotions carefully. It may show up in compulsive behaviour like obsessive cleanliness, tidiness, excessive fussiness, or a need to get things right at any cost, whether at work or at home. This anxiousness or desperation can be sensed by others, and it often makes other people feel uneasy around the abused person because they can sense something's not quite right. Dependence and insecurity. Abused children and adults often have an external locus of evaluation. They look outside of themselves to judge how they're doing and whether or not others love and accept them, or how successful they are by the size of their assets, their wealth, etc. So they look outside for approval because they don't approve of themselves internally. Those people who feel a need for someone else to nurture them, to tell them that they're okay, are often, unfortunately, taken advantage of by others who can see their desperate need for approval and know that they can do or say whatever they want to them because the abused person will put up with it, and often they won't leave even when they are being mistreated. There can be ambivalence. Abused children as adults are often ambivalent to what occurs to them. They learnt to be a bit ambivalent while being abused. They didn't want to dob in their parents as they wanted their love and feared the loss and the consequences of telling the truth. If the parent only abused them occasionally, they may have seen it as an occasional error to be put up with. And they might have said, oh, it's the work, it's the stress, oh, it's only when he drinks or she drinks, or it's, it's some outside reason that is the issue and the problem, instead of realising that it is actually the person that was not taking responsibility or coping with their pain. Some kids might even pretend that they like the abuse or tell themselves that it's better not to make a fuss about it, and even tell themselves that there's no point speaking up because you might not be believed if you do say something. And unfortunately, sometimes kids will talk to another family member to try and get help and support. And another family member might not want to get involved. They might even go and then tell the parent that the kid has said this, and that then leads to more problems for the child. And so the child learns, well, I better just shut up about this. And so they learn not to ask for help, not to reach out, and they close down inside themselves and numb out to protect themselves. So they learn just to accept it and to get on with life. This ambivalence has an effect on the rest of their lives. They might never relax or feel safe with those they love, and they might not allow others to be there for them, to let themselves be emotionally supported for fear that the loved one might become an abuser too. If the parents left, if they felt alone and abandoned, then the child that grows into an adult may feel that they can't let anyone else close in case that person leaves too. And so these patterns repeat. Unfortunately, a child who's been abused may grow into an adult that believes that anything that's good contains bad and vice versa. And so they don't know what to do or where to turn or what to choose in life. And so they get stuck with this sense of apathy. And sometimes, especially if you were in an addictive home, events, gatherings, social occasions may have started off being fun, but then turned nasty, violent, or horrible once the drunk parent or the addicted parent or whoever it was snapped and their mood changed to become abusive. And so children that have gone through this, they learn not to even enjoy or relax good times like social occasions and good events because they're waiting for the change. They're waiting for that snap when it's going to turn from being a good occasion into a dangerous, bad, abusive occasion. And so again, they get stuck in this inability to actually relax and enjoy life. Some may choose to try and identify with the abuser as a way to avoid getting further abuse. And so in this situation, a child might act like the abusive person in a hope that that person is then going to look on them favourably and be kinder to them, so less abusive to them. And so a kid that does this uses that as a way to try and feel strong rather than feeling like a weak victim. And they'll act strong using anger as a dominant emotion and blaming others for things that are occurring around them. And this is a defense against their underlying feeling of danger and the fear that they may be abused again. If they were sexually abused, then kids that have experienced this may be sexual with other children. It can be an angry gesture. It happened to me, now it's going to happen to you. It might just be a confused way of trying to share the experience, of trying to make sense of the pain or the humiliation. Or if they felt the abuse was pleasurable, they may want to do it again, and they might want their friends to feel what they felt. These are children, especially here we're talking about young children, that they don't have the emotional maturity to know that sexuality is inappropriate at those young ages. They've experienced it and they're responding and coping the best that they know how. So many kids who are abused may also be cruel to or abuse their brothers and sisters, other children, pets or wild animals. And again, this is not because they're bad kids or that they're nasty kids. It's just that they've been abused and they don't have a way to process and heal those emotions without support and guidance from a loving, caring adult. And so they cope the best way they know how, and they may act it out onto others or onto pets and animals. They might then feel ashamed or guilty of this and beat themselves up, especially as they grow. And I've even had cases working with people where there was sexual inappropriateness with animals, and that might have been a part of the abuse, and it might have been part of their coping mechanism. Again, they were children and they didn't know better, so we need to heal this so that they can have peace and they can find love and acceptance of themselves and an ability to have a healthy sexuality. Please, please, please don't let these things affect you your whole life. You can heal them and move forward. So it's really important to always remember that it's not the child's fault. They learnt what they lived and they knew no different. So we need to be compassionate and not abuse them further. Those of us that have experienced abuse and grow up, we may continue to abuse our own bodies. So unfortunately, many abused children, once they reach adulthood, have a high level of self-contempt and self-loathing. They may dislike themselves or even hate themselves. And when they have that kind of pain about who they are, alcohol, addiction, it's a way to numb out. It's a way to try and escape that pain, even for a little while. So they might abuse their body by over or under eating, by alcohol or drug abuse, by physical abuse, or ignoring their body's needs. They may self-harm, scar themselves in an attempt to make themselves less attractive to others if they're afraid of further sexual abuse, or to punish themselves if they've got self-hatred around what occurred. And the self-harm, the cutting, it's also a way to numb out from the emotional pain, because when the physical body is in pain, you feel that pain instead. And so it detracts from the emotional torment that is underneath. Of course, these are not healthy coping mechanisms, and we want to help people to heal these so that they can treat their bodies with the love and respect that they deserve. Another impact of abuse on children is splitting and multiple personalities. So if a child cannot cope with what happened to them, they may go inside themselves or go somewhere else. So this can occur during a moment of trauma. They might dissociate, separate out, and many people report leaving their body and looking down upon the scene, watching it from outside themselves. So this is a built-in mechanism within the body designed to help you numb out so you don't feel the pain of what is occurring. And this is actually part of our fight, flight and freeze response. our primordial response that originally was about, if we'd got caught by a tiger or a bear, we don't want to feel the pain of ourselves getting ripped apart or eaten. And so our body gets flooded with opioids that numb us, that calm us, so that we can separate from it and not feel that pain. So dissociation is a normal process as a part of the fight, flight, and freeze mechanism. But when there's extreme trauma, it can end up leading to pathology and to dissociation that leads into multiple personalities. So everyone has subpersonalities. We have a part of us that is happy, a part that's sad, a part of us that achieves, a part that is a doer to get things done, another part of us that's more lazy and relaxed and likes to just chill out. There's all the different possibilities of ways to behave, and these are parts of us that do those activities. And so we all have access to these many different subpersonalities that make up who we are. But when there's been extended abuse or extreme abuse, some people may find that these separate parts become whole personalities that don't interact anymore, that don't have a sense of the one person. And so their sense of I is not always the same, and these different personalities can take control. So a person that has this affliction may never know when they wake up which part is going to be there at the surface, and they won't remember that it's a different part, because that part that is the I, that is the sense of wholeness, is not present. And so each of these different personalities that comes forward has their own memories and their own personality, preferences, skills, and preferences for life and what they do. And the different personalities may or may not communicate, and someone who's going through this can feel horrible, trapped, and out of control. And it's a situation that needs professional support to help you to reintegrate those subpersonalities or those split-off personalities, and to heal that trauma in your body so that you can feel safe to actually come back into your body and be present in the here and now. Okay, so kids that have grown up may unfortunately repeat the pattern of abuse with their own children. This is not deliberate. This is, please, not deliberate. It's not, again, it's not someone being bad. It's just the brokenness, the damage that needs to be healed. And so because someone who's been abused, if they haven't done their healing work, because they may have so much pain, they might be trying to escape it through addiction, or they might be depressed, or they may, be focused on work all the time. So they'll find whatever way they can to cope with the pain that they have. But some of those coping mechanisms may mean that they're not able to be fully present to the children that they have, and to connect with their children and give them the support that they need. And because of that, the child may feel unsupported, unloved, may feel neglected, abandoned, etc. And so the cycle of abuse continues. Sometimes it is actual abuse. Sometimes it is just this disconnection as a result of the pain. And the parent, the grown-up in this situation, may feel horrible about the fact that they don't have the energy to give their kids what they know their kids need, but they might not know how to actually heal it and to be present fully from it. And they might be ashamed to admit that they're struggling and not seek help and support. So it's a very hard, challenging situation. And we have so many families now that are in this situation, and so many, single parents, mums and dads, that are trying to do it all on their own. And it's really hard for any one person, even a fully functional, healthy adult, to be able to be there and meet their kids' needs. Of course, there's going to be times when you're tired, when you're exhausted, and when you're emotional. And in an ideal world, there should be another adult that can step in then to help out. Sadly, A lot of parents are struggling on their own, and this does have consequences on our kids, and our kids then grow with behavioural issues, and we're seeing increases in kids with obesity, with kids with behavioural and attention deficit issues, all sorts of challenges that kids will have, which is part of their, their sadness and their way their body is coping with the problems that are occurring. That's another video, a different topic, looking at the impacts of physical issues and how that then leads to illness and disease. Okay, so there can be wider impacts as a result of children being abused, so going beyond just the individual involved. There can also be impacts on the siblings, because sometimes with a family where abuse is occurring, the abusive person might choose one of the children to pick on, but not the rest. And those children who weren't abused can feel guilty, they can feel ashamed, they can have difficulties as a result of the fact that they weren't treated the way the other one was, and especially if they're seeing the other one struggling with life. So the following little bit of information is offered for non-abused siblings. So recognise that it was normal for you to have felt glad as a kid if you weren't being abused. And you might have felt guilty that you weren't and that your brother or sister was. Or you might have been jealous of the attention that the chosen child got and sought it out too, being afraid and eager at the same time. And sometimes with sexual abuse, it can be done in under the guise of loving, attentive care, as opposed to it being violent. It can have many different forms, and it's very, very confusing for children, and it leads to them growing into adults that have very unhealthy connections around what love is and how love should be displayed, or interpreting methods, interpreting signs of affection from other people, misinterpreting them. Okay. All right, and some siblings might feel that they should have protected the abused sibling, or at least protested about what occurred. But if you were a little child and you spoke up, you may have then got abused too. And so it's understandable that you might not have spoken up for your sibling, and that you might have felt you needed to stay quiet to protect yourself. Let go of that guilt and love and support yourself. You might have tried to be perfect to avoid abuse, and some kids will even point out how much better they are than the other child who is abused. Again, this is a way of trying to protect themselves. It's not malicious. Even if it appeared that it was just a coping mechanism that they developed as a way of trying to make sense and stay safe in the situation they were experiencing. So remember that you were a child and you coped the best you could. Don't avoid the abused sibling now because of your guilt. They'll probably value your friendship, and you can both seek assistance in sorting through your issues and developing a closeness. Reach out to them and offer your support and guidance. This little bit of information is for partners of adults who were abused as kids, because the partners may face all sorts of feelings interacting with someone who's suffered abuse and their family. So it's really normal that you might want to rescue your partner and try to heal them or help protect them from any further hurts. But this creates problems in the relationship, as you too are going to have needs that you need to express from times, and you need to have an equal relationship, not be interacting as a pseudo-parent looking after a wounded child. And so if you are in that dynamic, it's going to cause problems. You need to come together as equals. And there are always going to be some tense moments in relationships, and both parties need to be able to express their feelings and get their needs met. So don't be silent about your needs, as it'll only cause problems down the track. The abused child as an adult may also occasionally behave poorly as a way to test you to see how you're going to respond and if you're going to treat them like the other person did. They're using different techniques as a way to see how safe they are and how much they can trust and let you close. And because they're not used to being treated kindly or lovingly, if they've not experienced that as someone in their younger years, then if you're very loving and very kind, that seems foreign, it seems weird, and they may actually try and provoke you to actually behave in a way that is more like what they're used to, because at least that's known and they know how to handle that. And so I share this just so that you can understand what might be going on if your partner is behaving in weird ways and is pushing you away. It's actually a sign that they're wanting to let you close. They're feeling safe with you, but they're scared of that. And so they're pushing you away to see how you react and to see what happens. So yes, they're testing you to see if you really do love them and accept them. If this pattern occurs, talk about it. Do your best not to be abusive. Of course, you're going to have your own challenges if your partner's behaving this way, and you're going to get frustrated at times and get exhausted. You need to look after yourself and get help and support for you during these times as well. So partners may feel a lot of confusion about what to do and how to handle it. They may get impatient or tired of their mate always being affected by the past. And you might wish that they'd get over it. Like, can't they just get over it? You might then feel guilty or ashamed for thinking like that. But don't bash yourself up over it. It's normal for you to feel these things and for you to get frustrated. Talk to your partner about your concerns or seek help. Or if your partner's open to it, you can both seek help together. Accept your feelings of helplessness and your pain at seeing their hurt and your anger at their parents, if indeed it was the parents that were abusive. It's normal. As a partner who absolutely loves, this person, you might find it really hard to interact with their family in a friendly way as if everything's okay, because you might be so angry about what occurred to them. But if your partner's not wanting to confront it, if they're wanting to just interact normally, then you need to honour your partner and what they're wanting and try not to react to their family and to what occurs, because sometimes the family dynamics may still not be very healthy. But when you leave those family situations, those interactions, you need to look after yourself and vent your anger and frustration in healthy ways so that you can balance back up and you can let go of any negativity, sadness, or anger that you have about the situation. And when you do this, you'll feel more at peace, more balance, more in control. And that will enable you to be less reactive to what is occurring. So it's really important to take time out for yourself after you've had any confronting situations. Know that you will be able to change the dynamics of how you and your partner interact. Your partner is healing. They're growing and evolving every day. Learn to own your feelings and behaviour and express yourself effectively without blaming, without judging or criticisms. I statements are really, really helpful. An I statement is where you say, when you do X, I feel Y, and I'd prefer it if you could do Z. For example, when you run away and hide from me when we're in the middle of a conversation, I feel so frustrated and upset. And I'd really prefer it if you just talk to me or tell me that you need 5 minutes to calm down before we can continue talking, because I don't know what to do when that happens. Can you stop and talk to me in that moment, or can you just tell me that you need 5 minutes? That'd be great. That would be really helpful for me. So that's just an example of an I statement where you're not blaming, you're not telling the person off, you're just saying, hey, when you do this, this is how it impacts on me, And I'd really prefer it if we can find a better way to respond when that occurs. And so it's a helpful, supportive way to have those difficult conversations and to hopefully be able to interact in more loving and kind ways with each other. If you can do this, if you can create that safe space to talk, to share, to grow together, then your love and encouragement will create a condition that allows your partner to open up to facing their own issues. It's that safety that eventually leads to them coming out of their shell and opening up and working through the layers and layers and layers of emotional pain and density that are surrounding them, their conditioning and defense mechanisms, shifting them out layer by layer so that they can return to their core innocence deep within. But know that they have to be ready to change. If they're not ready, no amount of you nagging, pushing, threatening, scolding is gonna work. No amount of buying them books, paying for courses, trying to, encourage them to heal. It's not going to have a huge impact if the person is still feeling too scared, too vulnerable, and not feeling strong enough to move forward. So if that is the situation and you want to stay in the relationship, then focus on your own healing so that you get to be a clearer, healthier version of you. Because the more that you do that, again, that will radiate out and help your partner to see that it's possible, to see that you can grow, heal, and evolve. So focusing on your own healing is the best thing that you can do for the both of you. And when your partner does become ready to take action, you'll be there, able to show them what to do or point them to where that they can get help. And another point with this, which I've experienced with partners, is often they'll need to find their own way. And so the modalities that work for you, your partner may not want to use the same ones. Because if we think about it from an energetic level, part of the healing process is going from feeling like a wounded victim, a child, to becoming a strong adult, able to look after yourself and to take responsibility for what you do in the world. Now, if someone else is helping you to do that, you still feel like a child being looked after by that person instead of finding your own way through your dark night of the soul to find your own solutions and to feel strong and that you've achieved it, that you're capable and you're resilient and able to move forward. So it is important that they find their own way through. And I think that's really helpful for partners to understand that it's not that they don't respect your modalities or how you've done it or what you've found has worked. It can be this inner drive that tells them they need to find their own way through. So remember that what we focus on expands. So try to stay focused on the positive and create more of that. Be a role model to your partner. And try not to see them as sick, wounded, or broken. Try to see them as a healthy person who's just yet to take action and break free of their symptoms. They're still whole and complete. It's just the conditioning, the pain, the emotional density, the baggage that needs to be let go of. But they're still that beautiful, innocent soul that you can see inside their hearts and that you love and want to take care of. Okay, so enough of the heavy stuff. A little bit of focus now on the gifts that come when we heal. So when we do survive these challenging experiences and grow into being a healthy, functional adult, we have this sense of strength and this resilience. We know that we can persevere and we can survive. We have an ability to feel and to understand emotions and reactions that is much greater than the majority of the population. And especially if you were a child in a volatile home, because you would have learned to be watching how people were reacting for the danger. And that skill that you've developed of being able to read the scene, to see what's occurring, to feel the energy in the air, that's actually a great skill when you have cleared the pain, because then you can actually use it moving forward in life and sensing what's occurring. You'll have much clearer vision of what is occurring and how to move forward than other people will have. And if you've healed, you will actually end up with a beautiful, beautiful empathy for others. And because we know how hard it is to heal and to find inner peace, we actually become less judgmental once we are healed as well, because we understand that people are just coping the best way that they've found how with what they've been through. So we learn not to judge where they're at. We also will often have developed an ability to connect in with spirit, source, our higher self, whatever you want to call it, God, or to connect in with Mother Nature and feel the peace of being in nature and have that inner stillness. And so we have this sensitivity that develops that other people that are living normal life, just rushing around, being busy, caught in the head or caught in ego, that they may not even notice, not even realize is there. And so we end up with an ability to know ourselves on a deeper level and to have a greater emotional intelligence than the majority of the population. So when life events come, and they will always still come, we know how to ride that wave in an easier fashion because we've gone through learning the skills and knowledge for working through trauma, for working through emotional reactions. And so we can use those skills whenever life brings us a challenging event. So we don't get knocked off our center as easily as other people. And you end up with an ability to receive intuitive guidance and to access inner wisdom. Because you've done that work to heal and to align your heart and your mind and to connect in with that stillness and that wisdom within, you end up being able to actually hear what you need to do. You end up, your body will give you insight. If you're starting to feel unwell, you can tune into your body and ask, what is it that's going on here? What is it that I haven't looked at? And often you might find an emotion will come up that you've been avoiding or that needs to be felt. And as you do that work to heal those parts of yourself, your physical body can then relax and feel better. And so we get these abilities as a result of going through this healing journey. Yes, it's hard work, but we get these gifts when we come out the other side. We also get the ability to appreciate the simple things in life, to stop and smell the roses. When you've worked so hard to heal and you've gone through exhaustion, you've gone through depression, anxiety, etc., oh my God, it's such a relief to be able to just actually rest and feel okay, like to feel the peace of being still. And it's so nice that we actually focus on doing some of that, on looking after ourselves because we've gone through so much. You will also end up with the ability to be a better parent, friend, or partner as a result of all that you've learned and healed. Because when you've done that work and you're integrated internally, if someone around you behaves in a less than ideal way, instead of reacting straight away and lashing out, you might be able to actually just witness what occurred and to inquire internally into what's going on for them, and then actually be able to speak with them in a more peaceful way, because you're not taking their reaction as a personal attack. You're seeing that, oh, they're going through something at the moment. What do they need? What does this person need who's in front of me at the moment? And how can I give that to them so that they feel better? And when you're healed and in a centered, grounded state, you're able to do that for people. And it's beautiful to not react to the situations that occur around you in that way. You're able to take responsibility to respond with ability. Responding with ability, because you've got that skill set. So these are beautiful gifts that you can give. And likewise, as a parent, you can be so much more attuned to your children's emotional needs, and you're aware of the impacts of your actions, how serious those impacts can be. And so you're more likely, once you've done your healing work, to take the steps you need so that your children get what they need, whether that be by looking after yourself better, by getting help and support, by having, friends that you can share looking after kids with so that you get time to rest and rejuvenate. You'll put those supports in place so that you can be more loving and kind to your children the majority of the time. Of course, you're human and you're going to have moments, but you'll be able to balance up more easily. And again, as an emotionally intelligent and aware person, even if you have a stressed out moment where you might yell at your kids, you'll be able to apologize afterwards and just explain that mummy or daddy, whichever one you are, that you were stressed and tired and you just needed to rest. And it wasn't that they've done anything particularly wrong and they're not bad. You were just tired and exhausted, and you can then have hugs and cuddles and actually make up for that interruption to your bond, instead of having it become a widening gap between you and your child. And so you end up with these skills and abilities to be a beautiful, loving, kind, authentic, gentle person who also has access to the opposite side when it's appropriate. Because I don't want you to think that you shouldn't ever be angry, or you shouldn't ever say no, or those kinds of things, because there are times in life when you have to say no, when you have to respond quickly and even assertively to set boundaries, or to protect yourself and your children. So we end up having access to all emotions and all possibilities, but we get to use them in a way that is more balanced and peaceful. Yeah? So we don't get stuck in anger or rage. We may still have anger at times, or even rage, but we recognize it as a sign that our body is saying to us something is not okay right now and something needs to change. Rage and anger is a motivation energy. It's an energy telling you something needs to be changed. And so we can use that energy in a positive way to move forward. Okay, so ultimately we end up with an ability to be happy, to be peaceful, and grateful for all that we have. Even if what we have is very simple, we can be so grateful that our home is a safe place, that there's no fighting or there's no abuse, that we can come home and just rest and be. And so we end up being really grateful for the simple, easy things in life. And we also develop an ability for self-love and acceptance, not only self-acceptance, but acceptance of life and what life brings to us. We learn to flow with it all and not fight against it, because it's the fighting, the resistance, that causes problems. So if this video has triggered you at all, I just wanted to list some of the self-help services that are available for free that you can access. So these are Australian phone numbers and websites, but there will be similar versions of these in many countries around the world. Whether that be Lifeline, whether that be a domestic violence support service, or a healing from abuse and trauma service. Please seek support if you need it. Your GP will be able to refer you to services that are available, or even just doing a search by your country for helplines will give you that information. So here are a few more, some of which are focused specifically for children. And so know that there's support available to you to heal and to move forward, even if you can't afford to pay for healing services. There's help out there. You just have to reach out for it. Okay, I hope you found this video interesting and useful. And my aim in sharing this information is is to help people to understand that their reactions are normal considering what they've been through. It's not that you are abnormal or that you are problematic or that you are broken. It's just that you've gone through these challenging things that resulted in conditioning and defense mechanisms that you used as a way to support yourself when little. But once you're an adult, those coping mechanisms may no longer be helpful and be supportive. And so we just need to heal, to dismantle those coping mechanisms so that we can respond in more effective ways. Okay, many blessings to everyone, much love, and I wish that we can all heal and reach peace and happiness as quickly and as easily as possible. Many blessings. Bye for now.